Welcome to Christmas Eve worship at Paint Branch Unitarian Universalist Church. We acknowledge that the land on which our church stands is part of the ancestral grounds of the Piscataway people. I am John Barr, one of the worship associates who plans services in collaboration with church staff, and I am so very happy you chose to be with us this evening. If you are using Zoom this evening, please run your cursor around the perimeter of your screen and find the microphone icon, and be sure to remain muted throughout the service so we can all hear the speakers and performances clearly. While you are doing this, please also find the option for switching between gallery view and speaker view. We will be asking you to switch between these views later in the service. For now, I believe you will want to choose speaker view. While you're exploring the Zoom edges, clicking on the bubble icon in Zoom opens up the chat screen where you can read timely messages during the service from our Assistant Church Administrator, Phil Brown. And right now, I invite you to type into chat how many people are viewing from your screen. Please type 1 if it's just you. And a final reminder this evening, our services are recorded and are available online on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. If you go to Facebook and search for Paint Branch Unitarian Universalist Church or on YouTube, you will find these. Thank you.
We gather on this holy night to celebrate many things. The birth of Jesus, the light which has come into the world, the growing light as the winter solstice has just passed. In this strange and difficult year, we grieve that we cannot gather with one another or travel to be with our families. Nevertheless, technology allows us to see each other's faces on the screen as we gather on Zoom. And so come, let us worship together.
Our chalice is joined by many other symbols of light in this season. Please join me in our unison chalice lighting. We light the chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind, the helping hands, the loving heart, and the radiant spirit. Encendamos este caliz para celebrar el Unitarismo Universalismo. Esta es la iglesia de la mente abierta, de las manos amigas, del amor del corazón y del espíritu radiante. I now invite you to join in singing Joy to the World with piano by our music director, David Chapman. I grew up in the cowboy poetry capital of the world, which is a strange appellation, but it's true. And I would like to share with you this evening a work by one of my favorite poets. And so, A Cowboy's Night Before Christmas by Waddy Mitchell. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and out on the spread, we had finished the chores and was going to bed. 'Twarn't much Yuletide spirit, no stockings was hung, no tree was fixed up, and no carols was sung. In fact, none of the cowboys was saying a lot as I tidied the bedroll that laid on my cot. Been nearly 3 weeks without sugar or mail, since the winds blew in drifts that had closed up the trail, which meant that we wouldn't see Christmas in town, and I was fixin' to lay my old weary bones down. When out in the yard we heard hoofbeat and traces, as strange looks come over the cowpunchers' faces. There was straining of harness and the distant muted sound of steel runners sliding over snow-covered ground. So I pulls on my boots and I quits my warm bed and peers out the window to see team and sled. Then I yells to the boys, best build a fresh pot. We've a guest who'll appreciate a cup of it hot. I opens the door and in comes from the night a pot-bellied man, frosted whiskers turned white. He seemed in a hurry, he never once tarried, as he gave each man something from the sack that he carried. Drank down his coffee, then head back out. Took hold to the lines, gave a whoop and a shout, on spick and on span, on Tom and on Jerry. Es Christmas, amigos, hope I help make it merry. So we all yelled in unison back from the door, you have, and Merry Christmas to you too, senor. With a wink and a flash, he was gone in the night, but his coming made every man's attitude bright. 'Twas a Christmas I'll remember every year without fail, when Santos, on contract, got through with the mail. Thank you. And for special music this evening, please enjoy Shelley Jackson Denham's Winter Night, performed by Allison Hughes, Philip Brown, and David Chapman.
life will have its season, and each new day your heart may pray for grace, for peace, for reason. Oh, Shabbat.
Well, here we are. It's Christmas Eve, and I'm not tired of Christmas music yet. It's weird. In past years, I would have been bombarded by Christmas music in every store and half the restaurants I entered since October. But I haven't been in a store or a restaurant since October. In past years, I would have spent the last several months rehearsing holiday music for the choir. We did one song. It was nice. In past years, I've actively avoided anything vaguely resembling Norman Rockwellian Christmas. There's too much. I don't want more. This year, I find myself saying, oh, hey, I know that song. It's nice. I could hear more like that. And I find myself thinking, maybe I should put up more lights. Do we have more lights? This is only the second Christmas I can recall that I will not spend with my wider family. Our practice is to split time with my in-laws and my side of the family. This year, Christmas Day would have been spent in Houston with my in-laws. And then following, after Christmas, we would visit my mother and sister. This year, we have Zoom. I will not miss the airports or the airplanes. I will miss the moments in between. This year, holiday cooking is very different. Normally we eat out, so we can accommodate all of our dietary requirements, and so we don't have to do dishes. This year it's food for two, which feels like a weird number, because all of the celebration food recipes make food for at least 8. So we're going to be buried in leftovers. The pie will still be the same though, because I always make the pie. I don't understand why pumpkin pie is different when I make it, but no restaurant I've ever been to seems to be able to make it right. This is also the first Christmas Eve I have ever spent with my home church. Traveling to be with family meant that we weren't anywhere near Paint Branch on Christmas Eve. This is the first time I've been able to join all of you for Christmas Eve. And this is a tradition I hope we can keep. And that the gift that I will receive for this Christmas is that next year, vaccines and God willing, paint branchers far and wide will join me with those in our sanctuary celebrating the time of Christmas. I invite you to join in singing It Came Upon the Midnight Clear. In the spirit of the season, today's collection is entirely to benefit Community Crisis Services, Inc. This is the organization for whom Paint Branch held our Warm Night week-long shelter for homeless families for many years. For 50 years, CCSI has been a one-stop hotline, calling center for assistance for families in crisis. Calling the hotline is often the first step a person makes to access mental health and social service organizations within the community. Services might include helping a family with first month's rent, providing an abuse-free safe space, or providing transport to a job interview. Please give generously. You can mail a check to the address which has been posted into chat, or donate on the website www.communitycrisis.org. Thank you. The offertory music today is Coventry Carol, arranged by Lloyd Larson.
What lovely music. Thank you for that, David. And so now we come to one of the most holy times of the year on the Christian calendar, Christmas, the celebration of the birth of Jesus, the light which has come into the world. It is no accident that it comes at that time of year when light is at its least, and we are yearning for the increasing light to come. We all know the story. It's told in both the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, although it's somewhat different in each of them. You know the story. Joseph takes his wife Mary to Bethlehem, where they are to be taxed. There is no room in the inn, so they must stay in a stable where their child is born and placed in a manger. A bright star shines overhead, and they are visited first by shepherds and then by 3 kings bearing gifts. This story is often reenacted in pageants, and they seem unchanging. I was in the Christmas pageant in the church where I grew up. Maybe you were too. The costumes and the props were always the same. The RE director kept them in a closet. I started out my first year as a sheep or a goat, I forget which, walking on all fours and trying to act like a barnyard animal. The next year I was a shepherd, wearing a ratty tunic and some sandals. Then I was a king with a flowing robe and a crown on my head, bearing gold or frankincense or myrrh. Then I was Joseph, standing beside the manger alongside Mary in her blue robe. There was nowhere else to go after that, so I retired from the Christmas pageant. I think I was 12 years old. That very pageant is no doubt being put on in churches everywhere on this very evening. Some other churches celebrate with lessons and carols, as we are doing this evening. However we do it, all of us are waiting at this dark time of the year for the light which is to come into the world. May that light be a blessing to us all. Now I invite you to join in singing together, We 3 Kings of Orient Are. No doubt you remember O. Henry's well-known story, The Gift of the Magi. It tells of an impetuous young couple, Jim and Della, who were very much in love. Each of them had a possession which they prized above all else. Della's was her long, flowing hair, which spilled down below her waist in its golden sheen. Jim's was his gold pocket watch, which had belonged to his father and his grandfather before him. On Christmas Eve, when it was time to exchange gifts, they discovered that each had made a great sacrifice in order to give a gift to the other. For Della had cut off her long hair and sold it in order to buy a golden chain for Jim's watch. And Jim had sold his watch in order to buy a set of turquoise combs for Della's hair. The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents, and being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. And here I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But in a last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that of all those who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are wisest. Everywhere, they are wisest. They are the Magi.
I invite you to dim your lights if you're going to be joining us in the lighting of candles. Please set Zoom to view the gallery in preparation. I invite you to light your candle after the performance of Dona Nobis Pacem by the Beltry Duo and the Worship Orchestra of Washington has begun.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm sleep.
Please press view and gallery one more time and have a look at all the candles. Thank you for joining us tonight. I invite you to extinguish your candles as I extinguish our chalice. Merry Christmas to all.